Hello, and in today's video we're doing an FPL Game Week 3 team selection video and preview ahead of the third game week of the season. We're going to look back at how we got on in Game Week 2, how we are looking in the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion Mini League, and also we'll see what transfers I'm locking in for this deadline. It's 11 o'clock deadline. It has passed now, but what transfers did you make? Put it in the live chat below. So, here is my Game Week 2 results. Let's have a little look at how we got on then. So in goal, we had this man, Robert Sanchez, with a home fixture against Newcastle. What did he do? He got the business. He got the goods. Got the clean sheet. Lovely stuff from Robert Sanchez. And he's been a great own this season. Really happy to get that clean sheet because a lot of goalies didn't do too well this week. So to get that 6 points locked in was really, really nice. I mean, to be fair, Newcastle probably were the worst team and it was more Brighton dominating, which was a nice thing for Sanchez to be assured of that clean sheet and, get those points. So, yeah, he's a really good one for the future as well. He's got good long-term fixtures, so I don't really see me changing him. And, he just does the job, Robert Sanchez. So, very happy with him at the moment in time. Looking at our defence then, for Game Week 2. First up, we had this man, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, he had a home match against Crystal Palace, and we thought, surely the attacking returns will come this week. Well, they didn't, unfortunately, and neither did the clean sheet, much to many people's surprise. Trent did get a bonus point, though. I'm not quite sure how he fluked a bonus point in a 1-1 draw, but at least he gets an extra point with the 3. But it is still disappointing, and I think it's just you've got to remember the value of these players over long periods of time. Trent will come good for sure. He is definitely worth, in my opinion, worth more than just 7.5 million. But he is definitely worth that across the season. So he's never going to leave my team. He is still an amazing premium attacking asset. But this kind of last couple of games for Liverpool, it's not been ideal. But, there's another game this week. Time to turn a corner. And you know who is playing the train wreck that is Manchester United. Moving on then to the rest of our defence, we had this man, Kyle Walker, who was one of the differentials we picked at the start of the season. Another 6 points, that Man City defensive double up working in the first couple of weeks, and a nice clean sheet for Kyle Walker. It's good to see he's actually playing and he's differential, so he's getting those clean sheet points. And it's just a great way to get into that Manchester City defence at such a cheap price of 5 million. So he has gone up in price. I think he's at 5.1 now, but I've actually, got that money since I've started with him. So really, really good own. But obviously, it would be nice to see a bit more attacking threat. However, we'll take the 6 points. It does the job, and nice to see a clean sheet there from that Bournemouth game. And then looking ahead to the rest of the Man City defence, Joao Cancelo. This is why we own this kid. I mean, he is honestly a different gravy. He was brilliant in the game against West Ham, despite not having any attacking returns. But in this game, was just brilliant. Always looking a threat, going forward with the ball, taking it forward. Basically, he's playing in midfield, and that is what we love. We love this out-of-position defender. He's just so attacking and gets a nice assist for the Jefferson Lerma own goal. What a player. Bonus points to add as well. And an 11-point haul is always juicy. So, yeah, really, really good from Joao Cancelo. And that's kind of what we can expect when he's on a good week from him, really. So, absolutely delighted to get 17 points with those City defenders. Then we move on to the other Liverpool defender, Andrew Robertson. And look, at the end of the day, Andy Robertson was a pick that I went for to kind of go against the crowd at the start of the season. He was very lowly owned. And a lot of people had gone with the Liverpool trio of Salah, Trent and Diaz. So I had to go against it. I had to just kind of play my own game because I felt long term that Robertson was the better pick. And I still believe that is the case. It's just that last week, unfortunately, it was the right decision, just the wrong outcome. The outcome didn't favour me last week because it was just unfortunate. You see Nunez get sent off and Liverpool have to change the system. Then at 62 minutes or whatever, Tsimikas comes on, and it's like, well, that was just a joke. Tsimikas comes on for Robertson, and then Diaz scores. So it was just a massive swing, but that's not going to happen every game week. And I still believe Robertson is a brilliant asset. And with Manchester United up next, it's definitely a route to points. And I think a lot of people have sold him this week. He dropped in price actually to 6.9 million. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does anything this week. A lot of people thinking that Liverpool's defence is not great. It's a transfer I've seen a lot of people do. So we'll have to think about that. 2-pointer though, ultimately. So that was our defence. Then looking at the midfield then for game week 2. Mohamed Salah, 2 points. Very glad I didn't captain him. I was very tempted though, to be fair, because of the fact the City game was at Saturday and it was a hot climate at the Etihad. And then the Monday night kickoff was, an evening game, and Salah's record against Crystal Palace speaks for itself. But we do also know that his game week 2 record was quite sloppy. He'd only got 1 return before, and that was an assist. So it didn't have really anything on this captaincy decision, but it was just an interesting background to kind of observe. But just generally, I thought Liverpool were really poor against Palace, and until that second half, they didn't really get going. Palace played well against them on the break, and I'm glad I didn't captain Salah, because part of me thought, well, yeah, Erling Haaland, sure, he's good, but you always back Salah at home, and sometimes Liverpool can make slip-ups. They're not always going to be invincible, and that was one of these weeks. So it was, disappointing game, though, nonetheless, to still own him and blank the Salah points. So it is what it is, but we move from that vice-captain pick. Martinelli, 8 points. I mean, this kid is looking probably the best value asset in the whole game right now. Even at 6.3, I still feel he's amazing value, because the fact is, he's been starting, been scoring, and, for a couple million or a couple 0.4 million more than a Pedro Neto right now. So, he's just great value at that price point. He's going to start. Smith Rowe has been completely AWOL, and Martinelli's been in unbelievable form. So he's one of those near essentials right now. No, actually, I would say essential. With the form he's in and the fixtures Arsenal still have, hey, he just looks way too good to ignore by this point. So if you've got Marcus Rashford, you got to bin him off for this guy, because honestly, what a player. Just brilliant form. Another goal, another 8-pointer, and he's really justifying the high ownership at the start of the season. So really glad I went for him, and he got to get another goal against Leicester, which is lovely to see. Pedro Neto, I can't lie, very frustrating game against Fulham. It was just a bit like the Leeds game. I mean, Leeds was a game where he didn't have that many chances, but he looked lively. It's just that he didn't look clinical. And then against Fulham, he had a couple of amazing chances. That one with the header, it gets saved at first by Rodak, and then the header, you think, head that in, mate. You've got that. It's not even that far away from the goal, but he gets the header all wrong. And then you also see that chance that he misses where he literally gets in behind that Fulham defence, and he's like not able to get the shot away in time. And it's a tackle that goes in, and then it falls to Podence, and he can't get it on target. So look, Wolves were really wasteful against Fulham. Also saying that, Fulham obviously missed a penalty from Mitrovic, but the point is, I'm saying here, Neto is a very frustrating own at the minute, but is there better options at his price point? I don't know. Whether you think Anthony Gordon is better or not is a different debate, but yeah, very frustrating for me, Pedro Neto at the minute. And then we had Dejan Kurosevski. Now, we didn't expect that much really from him this game week. He's more of a long-term hold because of how well he looks. And to be honest, even in the Chelsea game, he actually played well. It was a good point made on the recent FPL pod by Sam Bonfield, talking about how Kurosevski, even though Tottenham weren't brilliant in that match, they got the draw, and Kurosevski had something like 23 touches in the box, still created 3 chances or something like that. Go listen to it on the Spotify and all those podcast platforms, because they were talking about the influence of Kurosevski, and I still feel he's too good to drop, in my opinion. Now, of course, Conte can do what he wants. He's ultimately the manager, and there's a chance he gets dropped against against Wolves on Saturday. But look, at the end of the day, you're gonna just hope he even with few minutes, he's gonna do enough. Because he's that explosive. So I think he is going to start. As good as Richarlison was in terms of how he changed the game against Chelsea, I still feel, if they're going to start one of them, they're going to pick Kulusevski. But I could be wrong. Let's find out. But whatever it will be, will be. But yeah, ultimately, I wasn't expecting a lot from their Chelsea game. However, still happy to own him with the fixtures going forward with Forest, Wolves, Fulham coming up for Spurs. So it certainly looks like a good plan to own a Spurs attacker. And, it's just so great. He's the cheapest way into that attack, and he has actually risen in price. But I bought him at 8 million, and I bought him at the start of the season at 6.6% ownership. And now he's already gone up to 15%. So it just shows, how quickly these players can get popular. And moving on then to our forward line from game week 2. That was a cheeky little flirt with how many points I scored. Haaland, 10 points, captaincy. Look, at the end of the day, Bournemouth at home, you always think, let's at least get a couple of attacking returns. But we can't complain too much because Salah was the only other option I was thinking about captaining, and he didn't get a return. So it's a return from Haaland, got the assist for that Gundogan goal, and it was a good assist at that. He's on the floor, so you've got to give him credit. But it was disappointing how little involved he was. Just 8 touches in that game for Erling. But that's the thing about Haaland. He's so clinical that even in the West Ham game, he wasn't massively involved in attacks, apart from winning the penalty from Gundogan's pass and then, going in behind for that De Bruyne pass. That's just a couple of very, very small moments. Other than that chance he had in the first half where he couldn't quite get the header in, and got the header in the second half from the cross from Grealish. He'll have about 4 or 5 chances a game, and he got about 8 touches, yes, but it just shows how he's not just a goal scorer, he can provide as well. So he's an intelligent player on both fields, and people will complain that Man City are going to spread the goals around, and that makes Erling Haaland a less appealing option. But to be honest, even if they do spread the goals around, Haaland will be involved most times, if not, the majority. So I think just stick with him. He's very, very strong as an asset. And look, it's one of those things. Harry Kane, you knew it was going to happen. For all those people that went from Kane to Haaland in game week 2, I feel for you, because Kane outscored him this game week with 8, getting that last minute equaliser. But that's one of those things you just can't predict. Sometimes when you back the fixture, Bournemouth at home versus Chelsea away, you kind of think, right decision, just wrong outcome. But if you didn't own Haaland for that 13-point haul in game week 1, it's kind of like, it's a real blow if you brought in Haaland for game week 2. But it is what it is. Going forward, Man City are the best attack, and going forward, they have still brilliant fixtures. So, one thing to say with Haaland is he's just not worth switching around. But moving on to our other striker, and the legend, that is Gabrielle Jesus. Never in my mind did I think I would captain him, so I'm not really that gutted about not doing it, because I looked at that Palace game and just thought, Jesus needs to get one and then he can get some confidence. Now he's got that confidence, and we honestly have a debate about whether he gets captained in game week 3, but we'll get to that. However, what a haul in game week 2. Unbelievable. 2 goals, 2 assists. You don't often see that from a striker. 4 bonus points, 19 pointer. That is very difficult to get for a striker. So, unbelievable game week from Gabrielle Jesus, and he's certainly shown all those people that sold Darwin Núñez or sold Jesus to get in Darwin this week, who's boss. Jesus comes out on top, and it was a brilliant couple of goals from him. So especially the first one, what a finish. So yeah, unbelievable, and great to own in game weeks to come as well with Arsenal. They're looking a good team this season, Arsenal, and they're probably just starting to click into gear now. So fair play, and I'm happy with that. So let's look at our bench before we quickly look at our points that we just teased once again, but we didn't quite show. Danny Ward on the bench. I was always going to bench him this week with the better fixture for Robert Sanchez, but also just generally, I just don't like the look of Leicester's defence after the first game week. They looked quite sloppy, and so it proved when they conceded 4 to Arsenal. So Ward, I'm not quite sure about him because they have signed Alex Smithies, but you got to think, I'm going to play Sanchez most weeks anyway, so it's not one of those things you need to kind of worry about the 4 mil goalie. But if in any given game week Ward looks like he's going to start and Sanchez has got a tough fixture, then it's a bonus to have that option readily available, because you don't often get those kind of options at that price point. So yeah, all right, 1 point, but as I say, was on my bench. I'm just glad I didn't go for the double goalkeepers for Leicester, because 1 point in both games from Danny Ward has been really poor. Moving on, we've got Andreas Pereira, 3 points. He scored, of course, against Wolverhampton Wanderers, got the clean sheet, but ultimately not very much else. I mean, he's on set pieces. We've got to remember that, so he's always got that threat with him. But yeah, 3 points for him. Quite a interesting asset to own going forward with Fulham's fixtures, because Fulham have got a couple of tough ones, but outside of that, some nice fixtures. So I wonder whether his time will come to Hull as a very differential, 4.5 starter. Not many people will, well, I say differential, he's quite highly owned, but not many people will be thinking of starting him most weeks, but he could get the points regardless. So, yeah, interesting one to think about. Moving on then, we had Nico Williams, 7 points. This is a bit of a shame. Obviously, we couldn't have known that West Ham would be that unfortunate, hitting the bar twice, and Forest getting that goal as fortuitous as it was from their new signing, Awoniyi. So, look, Nico Williams, I'm glad I have him. He's a great option for future game weeks. And I predicted at the start of the season he'd be the next Lundstram. And I don't know. I'm not going to say now, but it looks to be a good shout because he looks brilliant. Against West Ham, he was attacking. He was really looking lively. He had a couple of shots. Certainly that one from close range at the near post could have easily been a goal. And then he had that long range shot as well. And he's just getting forward. He's going forward. He's looking very, very, high on those wings and whipping in those crosses. So I think for 4 million, he's one of the best value players in the game right now. And, when he's got a good fixture, yeah, obviously it depends on the fixture. But when he has, you think maybe he's one to just think, if you want to have a great team, you could even start him. So, yeah, obviously it's a shame to bench 7 points, but I'm not really going to say that I would have started him over the other players I played this week. So, yeah, very decent from him, though. And then Cameron Archer, our 4.5 forward. He's not going to play pretty much every game week, but he's just there to kind of get any appearance points if he does. He didn't play in the Everton game, but he came on against Bournemouth. So there's just signs there that he might get a few minutes here and there. And that's all we really need for a third bench option. So, yeah, that was my game week 2. Let me just reveal to you then what the overall points were for game week 2. There it is, 72 for game week 2. A very strong game week once again. 78 last week, 72 this week on 150 overall. And I couldn't really ask for a better start to the season. Ranked now at a overall rank of 220,057. So, yeah, beat the average very, very comfortably. And well done to the first kind of ever triple captain Hall in game week 2, I think. Well, no, not first ever, but what I mean is it was unbelievable. For a game week 2, you don't often score as high as 139. So fair play to whoever did that. But yeah, that's my team for game week 2. Let's move on though to game week 3 and let's talk about our team selection. Okay, game week 3 team selection. Before we get into this, let's talk about the mini league, the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion mini league that is updated after game week 2. So as it stands, who is leading in the table? Well, I can tell you that top of the table in the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion League is Botman Returns. That's right, Chris Porter. Chris Porter, well done, mate. Really impressive stuff. I mean, last game week, a really good 80 points. So you've got to be happy with that. I think when it comes down to it, it will be a lot of change at the top of this league across the season, but it's good to get in there early and get some points to kind of give yourself that confidence and keep your team looking set. So well done, Botman Returns. Chris, you can follow him on Twitter at Chris Porter UK, Newcastle fan. He's absolutely buzzing with that. So 80 points, that's 159 overall. In second, we've got another Newcastle fan, funnily enough, with another similar name, Botman and Ruben. That's James Walton. Well done, James. Very good game week again from you. 77, 154 overall points. In third, we have the leader of the league last week. That was Craig Broom, Jambo's Giants, also known as FPL Jambo on Twitter. So, yeah, good game week again from Craig, but not quite enough to hold on to first spot, with him dropping down 2 places there. 59 points this week for Craig, 151 overall. So it's very tight at the top, but as I say, very early days. And then we'll just whiz through the rest of them. In fourth, yourself, and I'm on 150 overall points. We've also got Lacquers Fridge FC, Mike Halpin with a very decent 66 points, the same overall points as me. We've also got Adam Wheeler, Rhys's set pieces on 77 this week. So again, evenly matched, 150 points this week. I'm a Break Your Shins, that's a great team name. Thomas Moore, he's on 71 for this week, 149, so very, very tight in this one. And then we've got Henrik Solheim, Uptown Dunk, great team name, with a very impressive 89 points to climb up to 8th with an overall of 148. And then in 9th, we've got FC Gandun Albasa, Ismail Ilamasa, and he scored 71 with 147 overall. And then to end things off, we've got Kawa FC in 10th, Iso Tar with 87 points. So very good game week scores, I've got to say, for game week 2. All right, that's game week 2 then. Let us talk about my team selection and transfers for game week 3. So, we're going to start things off by having a little look at who my goalkeeper is. Let's find out. It's no surprises here, of course. It is. Hang on. Yep. It's a bit blurry, but we don't mind too much. Let's just zoom out here. It's Robert Sanchez. Robert Sanchez away to West Ham. Now, I know what you're going to say. That's a tricky fixture. I agree with you. But Brighton do look one of the best defences in the league so far. I thought they were very unlucky to concede that goal against Manchester United. They were dominant throughout, and it was a unfortunate mix-up where McAllister just scored an own goal. So, you know, I think Sanchez looks a really good own for the coming game weeks. West Ham still yet to score a goal as well this season, so there could be a chance of a clean sheet in that. But I'll take a 1-1, to be honest. As long as Sanchez doesn't concede, a 3 or 4, then we'll be okay, I think. But it could be an interesting one. Ultimately, he likes to get save points, and as I say, Brighton are very solid defence. So I'm feeling quite optimistic, but not too much. I mean, he's just great value at 4.5, and he looks like one of the better 4.5 goalkeepers this season, along with players like Raya, and obviously after the last couple of weeks, Henderson from Nottingham Forest. So yeah, good one to own at the minute, and happy to just let Sanchez do his thing, really. Let's move on to our defence then. So first in the line of defence, we've got, let me just, hang on, bear with people whilst I just zoom in a little bit more. Here we go. First in our line of defence, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's right. The Liverpool defender has got Manchester United this week. Now, I think of that fixture as a very winnable game. I think of Trent as very attacking, and he has got the points against Manchester United in the past. So I'm feeling fairly confident about Trent. I think he's just so good to own for his attacking threat. But also, you would imagine Liverpool dominate that game. We don't quite know what Manchester United side are going to turn up most weeks. But let's see if Liverpool can get the victory and can get the clean sheet. Then we've got the next player. And this, my friends, is our transfer in. Oh yes, Rhys James has come in the defence. So he was one that I thought maybe I should just go against him to be different at the start of the season. And therefore I started him. I started without him. And he got 7 points in both game weeks. And against Tottenham looked so threatening. So ahead of Leeds away and great fixtures, I thought this guy just has to come in, whatever the cost. So I've made a transfer out. I've brought in Rhys James. I mean, look at that fixture at Leeds away. That is going to be hopefully a big haul for Rhys James. And it's great to own Rhys James in your defence. I think he's getting to that essential point now. Let's move on to the rest of our defence then. We've got Joao Cancelo. Of course, he has started the season well with that 11-point haul against Bournemouth. And Newcastle is a team, of course, he scored in the away fixture last season. An absolute beauty. So City, they are still the best defence in the league. And I still back the clean sheet. Even though Newcastle have been better in terms of us going forward. I think Newcastle might struggle to score in this game. But you never know. You could see a goal from Wilson or Guimaraes. So, at the end of the day, Cancelo makes up for that with his attacking returns. So he's a great one to own. So that's like the holy trinity, in my opinion, of the defence in FPL. With Cancelo, James and Alexander-Arnold. Those are all so attacking, so brilliant, and such great point collectors, basically. Right, moving on to the rest of our defence then. And this is where we've got Andy Robertson. Now, you might think, hang on, how is this possible? You have Trent, Robbo, Cancelo and James. You can't have a better defence than that. And how have you afforded to have James and Robertson? Well, let me come to you. Let me tell you in a second. But first of all, let's talk about Robertson, right? The reason I'm keeping Robertson against all the odds is that Liverpool are still amazing. When they can play football their way, they are still a fantastic team. And ultimately, Manchester United, this season, their fullbacks have been atrocious. So can Robertson get down those flanks and cause problems? I think he might do, to be honest. And I still believe he is a better third Liverpool slot than Diaz. Despite the goal last week, that's not going to happen every week. I'm still going to, hold strong. Just think, if Robertson hauls, how much of a rise I will get. Right now, Robertson is at 9.6% ownership. That is unbelievable. Most seasons, that will never happen because of how great an FPL asset Robertson is just every season. But this season, people are feeling different. They want that 8 million midfielder, so they think, oh, well, I'll just get James in instead of Robertson, save the money. But I found a way to have both people. I found a way to have both. I think Robertson against that Manchester United team will do well. And ultimately, I think the fact he was taken off against Palace, not ideal, but it's good in a way because he's now got a rest and now he can fully fire and get these game week points that would be absolutely brilliant with him dropping in price. Everyone's selling him this week, but a lot of managers, well, a few managers that are going to keep the faith with him might just reap the rewards. Let's find out what happens ultimately, but it's a nice fixture against Manchester United. So that is our defence, apart from one more. Here we go. Yes, it is Nico Williams. Now, I was so impressed with how he looked against West Ham on last Sunday. He just looked so attacking. And now he's up against a Everton team that cannot score to save their life, apart from an own goal. They haven't got a striker right now. And if they have, they might as well not have because they just go missing every game. And Nottingham Forest are bouncing after that first win of the season. So I think Nottingham Forest could do well here. And there could be a draw here. I could see a 1-0 or a 1-1 to Everton. But what, as I say with Cancelo, what Forest might not do is keep a clean sheet. But what Nico Williams does is he still finds ways to get in the attacking third, whipping crosses and collect those lovely bonus points. So let's see what Williams can do. Let's see what Forest can do ultimately. But I feel really good about starting him this week with that nice fixture away to Everton, who are in a bit of a dire form. So it makes sense for me. Nico Williams looking like the next Lundstram possibly. And of course, we know Lundstram used to play for Everton. So maybe there's something in the air. But let's move on to the next part of our team. And that is, of course, our midfield. So you're thinking at this point, the rest of the team must be absolutely dross. Well, let me tell you. We've got next the king of FPL, Mohamed Salah. And he is our captain. He's our captain this week because he's facing an absolute train crash of a team in Manchester United. Manchester United are honestly abysmal. And until I start seeing them having some sort of a performance, they are going to be teams to target, teams to captain against. They were so poor against Brentford, it was actually insane. So Mohamed Salah, he didn't look brilliant against Crystal Palace, but I think Liverpool can bounce back. They're going to come back stronger. That's what they always seem to do. And at the end of the day, Salah's recent record against Manchester United is brilliant. Liverpool beating United 4-0 and 5-0 last season. And Salah getting 5 goals across both games. So look, this guy is looking like a really tasty option for the captaincy. The only thing about this Liverpool game is the protests from Manchester United about the Glazer ownership. I don't believe that the game will get called off. But if in a situation it did, then I've got a nice vice-captain to cover my back, really. So, Mohamed Salah, you're the man. You're the king of FPL. Let's get some more points from you. Thank you very much. The rest of my midfield then, let's have a look. We've got Gabrielle Martinelli. What a great asset he is proving to be this season. I mean, great value and a nice fixture this week against Bournemouth, who just lost 4-0, and I think Bournemouth will struggle against this in-form Arsenal side, and Martinelli just loves getting shots away. He looks like a great own. So Martinelli away to Bournemouth, feeling confident about that one. So then we look at the next player in our midfield, and believe it or not, it's Dejan Kurosevski. So we've got James, Robertson, Cancelo, Trent, Salah, and an 8 million mid. Yes, we found a way. We found a way. Dejan Kurosevski looks, in my opinion, like the best 8 million mid. Now, you can argue that it's better to have Luis Diaz because of how Liverpool's defence has started, or that you can claim that Bukayo Saka is still good value. But Bukayo Saka, with Arsenal, their attacks are still going down that left-hand side, so it's much better to have Martinelli and have 2 million to improve the rest of your team. And then with Diaz in the team, yes, he is in form. He's just scored a brilliant goal, but I still worry about his conversion. Like, that is a very unlikely goal to go in. Is he going to repeat that every week? Probably not. And often he has been kind of criticised slightly. I saw this was on the FPL pod as well, being talked about by Julian Laurent on the Fantasy Premier League pod, saying how Diaz, as good as he is, he's just not always that clinical. So let's wait and see with Diaz. Let's see how he does. But for now, I believe Kurosevski, with Spurs' fixtures, who are just such a great attacking team, and their fixtures are just too good to miss out on. So after his amazing haul of 13 points in Game Week 1, I think there's great potential for another good game week from Kurosevski. But let's see. Wolves are a bit of an up and down team, so we'll see what happens. But ultimately, I'm happy owning him, especially with that Forest fixture coming up for Dejan. So yeah, that is my midfield. So we're playing a 5-3. There's only one number left, 2. So let's look at our front 2 then, shall we? Surely these are budget players, because that's all I can afford, isn't it? You were wrong. Erling Haaland is in the team. Newcastle away. He's done so well for me so far, with 2 goals and an assist from the first 2 game weeks. And yes, Newcastle won't be easy with the informed Nick Pope, but as we saw against Bournemouth, City will dominate, and therefore Newcastle will struggle to get out their half, and eventually City creates so many chances that Erling Haaland will get on the end of one of them. The reason he's not in my consideration for captaincy, as I say, is because of Newcastle's improved defence. And when I look at Manchester United's defence versus Newcastle's defence, it's not even a debate for me. I think Newcastle's are much better, and when you consider the other striker I'm just about to talk about, it's a bit more difficult. So looking at our next player, we've got Gabrielle Jesus. Now, that's the ultimate debate, isn't it? Captaincy, is it form or fixture? Well, you'd argue Jesus has got both form and fixture. Away to Bournemouth is a great game. He's just got 19 points, but you can't always chase last game week's points. However, Jesus looks a great own and looks like he might do well against Bournemouth. But do we really think that captaining a striker is better than a midfielder who gets an extra point for a goal and a clean sheet? And Mohamed Salah, at the end of the day, loves scoring versus Manchester United. And Bournemouth, they'll try and make the game difficult, whereas Manchester United don't even know what difficult means, because their whole team is making things difficult right now, and they can't work out how to make it easy. So I think at this point, it's a very close decision between Jesus and Mohamed Salah, but I'm just opting towards Salah for the extra goal and for the clean sheet. And just imagine that Salah hauls big, right? Because then you've got captaincy on the final day of the game week. I just worry about Erling Haaland in terms of City sharing around the goal, so that's why I'm not going for him this game week. But in a better fixture, he might be a much better option. But I think Jesus is a very, very tempting one, and he's going to be the vice captain. So if worse comes to worse, and that Liverpool game does get postponed, then Gabrielle Jesus, the Messiah, oh yes, he's going to come in for the captaincy points. Let's look at our bench then quickly for game week 3. So on our bench, we've got Danny Ward for Leicester City. He's got Southampton at home. I just don't like the look of that Leicester defence right now, and I think it's not worth starting a dodgy 4-0 goalie, even now that they've signed Alex Smithies, because you just don't know about that Leicester defence. And until I see a clean sheet from them and a bit of an improvement, then we'll kind of have to wait and see. Also, we look at the fixture. You'd argue Southampton at home is easier than West Ham away, but it's Sanchez versus Ward. The goalkeeping calibre is not even close. Let's look at the next one, and that's Andreas Pereira, who's currently being benched for 2 reasons. Number 1, I believe Nico Williams could do really well against Everton. And number 2, he's currently got a knock, Andreas Pereira, so a slight injury. We think he might be fit anyway to play, but the point is we're not going to play him this week, because as good as he is as an option, I think really it's better to start Nico this week, and he's going to be good going forward as well. So he just looks a very solid 4.5 with being on set pieces, and Fulham they're looking okay this season. So let's see how that goes. And then the other player we've got is, of course, our other transfer. Now you're thinking, why would you transfer in a player and bench them? Ahaha. But now I'll reveal the sequence, because I've brought in Rhys James, as mentioned, and I've kept Robertson. So therefore, who have I sold? Kyle Walker has left. Now, as good as I believe double City defence is, I don't believe it's worth having no Rhys James over that. So I honestly think it makes sense. It makes logic. I've got the 6 points from both game weeks from Kyle Walker. I'll take the 12 points and run with it, because Newcastle might score against Man City. But also, the point I'm making is that James offers so much attacking threat. So therefore, I had to, in order to afford Walker to James, downgrade one of my midfielders. And I've just had enough with Pedro Neto. Honestly, the sight of him disgusts me. With the missed chances he was doing against Fulham, it was just terrible. So I like a nice change in formation, a 5-3-2, and therefore in comes Harrison Reed, just a bench fodder player who won't play any game week. But this season shows that it's sometimes good to go big at the back, and there's not too many injury worries, so I don't think a bench is that important this season. So therefore, Reed is my second bench option, and it's looking pretty saucy. Now, let's move on to the third forward, and that is Archer. Away to Palace, I don't think he's going to play, so therefore he's last on the bench. So that is our team selection for game week number 3. Boom shakalaka. As you can see on the right there, 150 points. We went up by 166,729 to that rank now, and with a very good game week score of 72, we're hoping, can we get in the 70s again? That would be unbelievable. But as you can see there, Reed and James in for Neto and Walker, and they're 2 free transfers, so no hits taken. So that is our first transfers of the season, done and dusted. And that is my video, done and dusted. So if you have enjoyed, smash a like on it. Do comment below your thoughts on my current team. As you can see there, the captaincy is locked on Mohamed Salah. It's as easy as that for me. He's just too good at this point in time. He's too good. He's the king of FPL, and he deserves for the captaincy once again. Because Manchester United, come on, they are a team that need to work out what standards they are actually setting for this Premier League season. But thanks for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you do remember to smash a like on the video as well. And comment down below whether you think I'm going to get the points in Game Week 3. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.